Okay, let's see. Here we go. I've been enjoying this recently. I'm blocked with the Chessable people. I don't know what's going on there, my friends. No idea. So I'm just waiting for Chessable people. I don't even know what I'm waiting for. Am I frustrated? Oh, dude, it's incredible. It's incredible with Chessable. Jeez, they got like a bureaucracy. This is like Kafkaesque, dude. It's Kafkaesque over there at Chessable Land. Kafkaesque. Anyways, the same format as yesterday. These are all recent games that have been submitted to the Dojo training database. And I kind of go up by rating. So every game will get a little bit higher in the rating category. And we're going to look at this from Black's point of view, because this is Spelling Bee Champ is going to be Black here. Fine. I've done this myself as Black. And Bishop G3, let's call that the old move. Let's just say a couple obvious things. It's never appealed to my opening sensibility to play Bishop G3 because you're losing a tempo. The rationalization is that if he takes HG, maybe the rook is doing something. You can take on D6. You can also play knight BD2. Okay. So Bishop G3 takes, F takes G3. Definitely a strange move. Definitely a strange move. And so now white will have two pawn islands, and the pawn on E3 is a little hokey. And C5 at some point, sooner rather than later, should happen for us. Now, I think it's all some interesting analysis here. So pop, pop, pop. Okay, so knight BD7. I'm sure it's fine, but where it's weird is it's not clear that it belongs on D7. And the real question is, how do you get your bishop on C8 out? So I mentioned C5. I definitely disagree that this is oh, I see what you're saying. Hold on. So let me just mention one thing. So if you want to play C5, you can totally play it right now. Taking here is not a problem. You can recapture the pawn immediately if he takes. And that way your knight can get a more active square on C6. Another thing you could do, if you wanted to be really aggro about the situation, is you could play knight C6 and either queen D6, queen E7, and then E5. Also freeing the bishop on C8. And that would be maybe the better way of doing things, honestly. Yeah. So, this is, we're going to say, mildly inaccurate. Let's read what he writes. The idea was to fianchetto my light square bishop. My knight on D7 is blocking the path, so I wasn't sure how to develop the bishop. Right. So that's something that happened because you put your bishop, put your knight in front of the bishop. Now, one thing we'll say is that you could have also played queen E7 here with the intention of playing E5, and that looks stronger, right? It looks stronger because it'll be difficult for white to not take on E5, and of course, if he does take on E5, you're going to develop all your stuff. Okay. Now, I definitely disagree that this is an advantage for white, right? Whether it's D takes or C3. This is too much of a problem for him. Doesn't make any sense what he's doing. Okay, now B6. Now, I don't know why you give it a funky move, Mark. It seems fine to me to play C5. You're going to get yourself a little space. At some point, either a queen could go to C7 or a rook goes to C8. So I think this is fine. One thing you should see is that if you're not going to play for E5 directly, by the way, you can still play for it with queen E7 or queen C7. Then it is kind of a bummer just to notice that we can't play queen B6. But your position's still fantastic. Okay, C4, poor move. Very poor move. White has to really try to keep the center closed here because of this weakness that he's given himself. And c4, it's a loss. Most important thing is a loss of tempo. Okay, that's the most important thing. Now you could do anything here. You play bishop a6, and it's a little weird to play bishop a6. Just bishop b7 looks good. Like you said, d takes looks good. One thing I want you to just note about d takes is that this knight is really a problem piece for him because of this pawn. And similarly, you have a problem with this knight because of this pawn over here. So bishop b7, it's just a great move. Just a great move. You know, you're really on top. Now, bishop a6, I still like your position. Here you don't have to wonder about, like, are you threatening anything? Is queen a4 a hassle? Those kinds of questions. Okay, now, one of the things I want you to see that's very common at this level that he's not appreciating, that he's not developed. He's not seeing that he's got a development problem. Yeah. Okay, now one thing to say about it is you'll get this often. In fact, I've had numerous students at this level, gone over a lot of their games, and one of the reasons I'm against opening study for a while is they're not going to play the openings, right? In a certain way, the guy did, but then he took back FG because he didn't understand what the opening moves actually meant. And so you're going to get a wild position where he's throwing himself kind of wildly around the board, and that's when you want to take a moment and think about what's happening. Generally then, so what am I saying? It's the critical moment has come. You have a winning position now, and now it's time to tank, right? Good rule of thumb. The guy changes the pawn structure. It's time to think. Also, you're ahead a lot in development. Your king is much better. We should have every expectation of being able to win this thing. Okay, now maybe it doesn't matter where you go because this position's so bad. But for me, the obvious choice is c takes, and if e5, we hit him with that thing, and it's over. It's gone. Notice that it's not just a pawn we're winning. We are gaining access to these squares for the knight, right? By taking away the pawn that was dominating our knight. Okay, rook e8, e5. And now knight g4. Your position's so good. It probably still is working. But of course this makes anybody nervous here because your knight's going on an adventure. Yeah. But the truth is, like I said, rook e8 didn't actually do anything for your position, but his position was so bad. It was so bad that even when it was his move, still doesn't matter. Yeah. Okay. So he's in trouble, by the way. I mean, like queen e2, I guess is his best move. He's got to stop knight e3, but then pawn takes pawn, and we're collapsing his position. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Good. 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 Okay. Here, I'd like to see d3. And I would want you to not, if you can avoid it, to not move the knight back. Because now it's passive. And then it gives him that opportunity. See, just that one passive move. Now you're still totally winning, but now we have to work harder. No one understands h3. Thank you. What? This is a blunder because I took a pawn, but lost a knight. Well said. Now, what I've stressed before is that at this level, what's really going to decide the games are going to be blunders, right? Blunders of material. And that's what we're seeing here. Now, okay. The good news here is that, you should be now winning, but you blow it here with DC. Okay. So let's think about your tactics. By the way, I want to stress, you think about tactics, going over your games. I've said it before. I know people must think I'm just ridiculous saying it again and again. But going over your games is when you will learn tactics. So, for example, on Queen B6, Queen F2 is not going to do it for white because you can trade and win the piece. So, he has to do something like King H1. And then we have to think for a second about what to do. He's clearly in a knot here. He's in a knot. Let's see what you give. Good. So you write the question mark at the end. I think what you're trying to say is that this would be a good variation for black, and so you're criticizing the variation but not the move, right? Because there's nothing you can do besides Queen C2. Let's see what you wrote here. You said Queen F2, snip. But here you don't have to play Rook takes C2. You just take it with the pawn, boss. You just take it with the pawn. It's all over. It's all over. If you want to get real fancy, you can play D2. Okay. So that's an interesting... So what I want you to see, actually, right? You can see in this. By the way, great annotations. I'm not criticizing the annotations. Is that you're making tactical mistakes in the analysis. And... right? It's great not to use the computer because you're trying to see it with your own eyes. That's what you have to do. And here you can just see it's, I'm sure now if you're watching it on the VOD or just with me now, you can see that either D2 or DC, clearly a winning endgame. Right? You're a pawn in exchange. Okay, so let's see what happens here. Oh, yeah. Now, if I was him, I would have rather played Rook takes C2 because on Knight takes C2, maybe the knight is going to get pinned. And now he blows it with Queen D4. Here, example, you should write what he should do. For example, on King H1, can you play Rook C2? And the answer is actually, it looks fancy, it looks like it's going to work, but then Queen D3 is going to kill us. Okay. So, in this position, let's just look for a second here. So I have a real hard time seeing how this guy is going to untangle himself in this position. For example, let's say we play Rook C3, followed by some kind of doubling over here. Isn't he going to get wasted? Oh, I shouldn't say wasted. Isn't he going to have monumental problems with the pin? Right? It's not over. So I think Knight C2 was also a mistake. After Rook C2, I have a hard time finding hope for you here. Queen B6, Queen D4, blunder, very good. Good, well done. Okay. Gotta be crispy critters here. Great. Let's read what he wrote. Recap. Overall, this position seemed complicated to me. I'm not sure I should have dealt with so many pawns in the center. I also made an obvious blunder with my knight on move 25. There were some good exchanges for both white and black. However, I believe the game was decided after the exchange on move 32. And they had a cool postmortem. Thank you. Cool. Now, perhaps this means that white is also in the dojo. I don't know. Okay, that was great annotations. Great annotations. Dude, these annotations are just stunning. Let's do another one. This is Kappa A. Let's flip the board. He's also in the dojo. Okay, Kaveh, I'm going to say no. I don't like h6 because you're wasting time. Is it the end of the world? No. But think about it. In this position, what's the right move? It's probably, you got several moves that have to be a right, This is the most natural. You could also play here. You could play here. You could play here. h6, though, doesn't seem good. Now white should have a small advantage. And if you were going to put the pawn on h6, only reason I can imagine doing so is for you to play bishop d6 and not worry about bishop g5. But here you're putting it on e7 anyway. So, opening principles. And now bishop d6. Okay, so it should be stressed that white should have the advantage here because he's up in time. Okay, a little fancy. And you write queen d2 as being stronger. I'm totally in agreement with you. For example, queen d2, the knight still has some virtue here because it's not yet dominated by c6. After black spends the tempo on c6, that's when we should be looking at maybe moving the knight. Okay, good move. I like c3. Good. Yeah, giving a simple question to the guy. And now I think the question is knight e5. Right. Okay, so here we go. Spicy position. In general, I believe in your position here. So, bishop e2. The problem for you, right, is I'm sure you felt this, and it would be good to give a variation or two, but you're concerned that f3 is going to knock you out of there. Now, knight h5 is also something to consider. But what's nice about this is if he takes with the queen, rook e8 is a golden thing. And if he takes with the bishop, it just doesn't belong there. We play rook e8 anyway. So this looks very promising for you. Maybe bishop b5 is something the guy could do. Unfortunately, that seems pretty annoying, isn't it? Bishop b5. Yeah. So honestly, I want to say this position looks, I like the way you played it, and rook e8 certainly the most logical move. But and I didn't see it in the distance either, but that's the move you got to see, is that bishop b5 is highly annoying after rook e8. Opponent misses it. And now you are up in development. I like it. I like what you said. Go for development. That's right. All right, let's read what he writes. At this point in the position, I really don't know what my strategy should be, and I'm very worried about my a7 pawn. If I move the a8 rook, well, I can easily attack it with queen a5, and there's little I can do to protect it other than moving the rook. So, yeah, let's say this is a very dynamic position, but that you should tell yourself, hey, I'm better. I'm better because he owes you a bishop move, and you are up this development move, and you have got several options. You choose knight e4. Let's also say that c5 is plausible, and perhaps also something like rook e6. Rook e6 is a little highfalutin. But, yeah, rook e6 is highfalutin. I mean, there's maybe even, like it could go like this. You could do this with rook e7 too. And you control the e file, right? Okay, so that's one option. And then c5 I like too. Dynamic play, and then what you did. Knight e4. All right, it's going to get a little hot. f3. I'm not sure I like it. Not sure I like it. Knight g5. Rook c1. Not sure I like that either. Not sure what he's doing. He should move the bishop somewhere. Probably bishop f1. Good. He needs to move the bishop. He needs to move the bishop. Boss, you need to move the bishop. Okay, and now you play queen f4. And you like it a lot. I'm not sure. If he just moves the bishop, what are we doing? Right? I think you're setting up a nice trick, but I'm not sure what you're doing. Seth wants you to play knight f4, and I'm sure you considered it. Then the question mark becomes, what are we doing after bishop f1? What's mildly interesting, actually, what this player, 1253, did was, what's nice about b4 is it prevents c5 and puts his pawns in the dark squares where they should be, right? His pawns should control the dark, and his bishop should control the light. Okay. Actually, it's called Capablanca's rule, Kappa A, so that's fun. Let's go back. I want to stress in this position, I can feel your anxiety in your notes about the plans. And I fully appreciate that because it is an anxious moment. You have this point of divergence. And in your notes, it would be good to try to give some sample variations about what you feel are the best moves here. Knight e4, I guess I want to call it, it can't be bad, but it's a little speculative, and it's not entirely clear that I know where it's going. Yeah. And I guess I'm leaning to c5, but I don't know. c5's complicated too. Like pop, 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 maybe that's a good move, for example. Right? If I take, then that pawn on d4 will make my c7 pawn backward. a5 actually, once you see all that stuff, a5 kind of comes as an idea. Just to put the pawn on a4 at some point. And rook e7, I guess it's calling to me more and more. One move actually, what's interesting, I tried to identify what the instant plans were. Another plan that's interesting to me is h5. Now you can't take because of snip, snop, and snook. And the intention is to ask him questions about Harry the h-pawn and maybe use that as a base for our business. Definitely a little speculative, but interesting. Okay, I'm going to leave it there, though. Let's go back to the game. That seems like a mistake. Good move. Now, it looks like he's in trouble. So, you give rook e7. Let's take a look. So this would take some nerves of steel to play rook e7, right? Because you would have to be aware that this, of course you have the repeat, but we're saying here that pop, 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 and then we're the ones that get turned around on. So e7. Now, of course, we're better positionally, no doubt. Rook e2, very nice move. Very nice move. That's the kind of tactics we're talking about. Yes, sir. So he's in trouble. It looks really bad. It looks lost. So it shouldn't surprise us, actually, if this game is just toast right here. All the way gone. All the way gone. Yeah, okay. Looks like I don't see any answers. I see no answers for dude here. Wait, there's one answer. Maybe he can go pop. It was a dumb answer, though. It's a dumb answer. I was saying here, that's not an answer, Kraai. Bam! All the way gone. Well, hold on. Let's slow it down. Because look, rook d2, and then I go pop, pop, pop. Right? Okay. So, queen b1. Thank you very much. He should play rook takes because in general, right, if you have a rook and bishop versus two rooks, you want to not trade your rook because you can argue that black's rooks are reduplicating their business. Is it nevertheless all the way over for the white pieces? Yes, this just makes it easier. Good. 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 They don't resign. Okay, very good. All right, sip of coffee. Old coffee from from that early afternoon. Old coffee, but delicious coffee. We got to get DM Hokie to update the database, buddy. He's got his other job, dude. We need to be working. Okay, so my friends, let's do another one. This is B-Wise against Headcanon. I should have I tried to do a little announcement, and anyways, Headcanon, I believe, is also in the training program. Okay, right. Okay. Now, is it unnecessary to play a6? A little bit, but there's ways in which the a6 maybe could become of use. Excuse me. Let me put this over. Personally, you guys know me pretty well. What do I want? I want him to play something like e6, because knight b5, we can play either knight a6 or bishop d6. Now, especially after a6, I'm thinking maybe I might want to do a setup like e6, and then I castle, and then I go b5, bishop b7, and then maybe, c5, full on Monty on the king-queen side. So at least that gives a6 a purpose, right, beyond just stopping knight b5. All right, let's say it's a little controversial because he's not developing. F3. Okay, now it certainly is thematic because he's going to try to say that your knight on f6 is undeveloped. You are correct, though, in thinking that now knight h5, it's not only you're gaining the bishop, but he just took a tempo to stop knight f6 existence, and you just said, wait a second, my knight is still existing. So you're right. Now, the thing about equality, we're saying F3 equality. I don't know. I mean, if you just grab his bishop, I don't know why you wouldn't be better. And frankly, you might be a little bit better even here. Because this move didn't make any sense. But white has to be careful in that this is the black's worst piece. And if I can change it off in some kind of favorable way, and I got to be happy. All right, I guess I'm going to call that equal. F3, I don't know. I like what you did here, knight h5. You snipped it. Very good. Now you got actually kind of a moment here. You talk about f6 and you talk about queen g5. Queen g5 looks, well, it's something he's going to have to answer. So here, okay, right. He completely misses king f2. So queen g5, right, is played with the intention of saying, hey, game's over. And here's a great way of thinking about kinds of moves like this. If it's true that queen g5, the game is over, then, you can relax. And by game over, I just mean if you win either of those pawns, it's forget about it time, right? So in those situations, you really need to double check if he's got something, right? Let's say in this position that you are better because of the unopposed dark square bishop and the fact that the knight on c3 isn't great. So the default moves should be knight d7, but you could also consider c5 and knight c6. Personally, I like knight d7. F6 is also a thought, but then knight d3. Actually, let's just say it's kind of hot. It's kind of hot in the sense that knight d7, g4 is a little bit problematic, actually, isn't it? Oh, it's kind of a bummer. Let's put that on the board. Then all of a sudden, he's not as bad as he deserves to be, right? Oh, chess isn't fair. Okay. You guys aren't going to like it. But maybe h6 here should be your move. So I definitely don't want to take that thing. And here king f2 would be what he should probably be thinking about. Is that an equal position? I don't know. We're seeing a lot that B. Wise thinks a lot of positions are equal. But maybe they are pretty rich, though. Yeah, I don't want to take. So yeah, h6 makes some sense. All right, let's look at the game. Queen g5, you missed king f2. Happens to everybody. Now, maybe White's thinking, I'm sure he's thinking, that he's done himself a favor by taking there. But that was his best piece, and knight d7 was our worst piece. So knight d3 comes to mind as a safer option for White. Excuse me. So. My name is Legion is saying surely c5 instead of knight d7. I might not have the wrong position. We might be talking about something slightly different. Black's position is great here. Controversial. Controversial. Okay. White's really going for it over here. Not sure he should be. And now he's going to do this. Okay. All right. Now, all of a sudden, very tactical. And we could say, actually, that regardless of whatever we think the objective valuation of the position is, White's position is arguably bad enough that he should try to change the structure of the position. So, yeah, it's very hard to believe, though, because our dark square bishop is so amazing, and this is opening up everything for his king more than it is for us. Okay, so now, big choice. It would definitely help us as observers and also be wise to write down how much time you took in this situation, because this is definitely one to spend a moment on, right? Yeah. And I'm with you. That EF looks much better. However, I understand also the fears, right? I understand the fears going on here. Your position, by the way, might still be better after bishop takes c3. It still looks great for you, I think. So, I agree with you, EF looks good for you. Let's check bishop c3 now. Pop, pop, pop. Let's just think for a moment. Okay. I'm not sure I understand that move. Okay, I think I do understand it, just in terms of the intention. Your intention is saying something like, well, I now have to work to get that pawn back. But here's the thing about this position where I'm not sure who's better and why. The white king is very open, and his dark squares are really terrible. So you own the dark squares, and therefore, we have every hope to maybe create an initiative here. I'm just staring. I'm just staring. I'm just staring. Not doing anything special. I'm just staring. Boss, I'm just staring. So let's say the problem is that obviously the pawn on h7, it's annoying, right? But his king has zero hope of achieving safety. Whereas yours, I don't know, it looks like there's potential. Now, the issue is for us, how can we open the position? And so my first instinct would be here. That enables an f5 thought and also a king c8 thought. There's other moves too. If we play e5, we're weakening this square, which I'm not 100% on. But that's also a move. And maybe the way to do it is something like here. I think f5 is a legitimate threat. So let's imagine bishop e3. And now, if we play e5 now, then bishop f5 is kind of annoying. So I think we want to do that anyway. Anytime he hits us with c3, a3, we're happy to go back to bishop d6. And then on the next move, we're really going to strongly think about e5. There might be other ways for you to organize this, but I want to stress that it looks pretty good for you. It's hard, and the rook is going to have to babysit the pawn on h7 for a while. And you can still do your g6 move. There's no rush for you to play g6. Okay, so g6, c4. I'm not sure I get that move. Now queen a4 is a problem. So now bishop d6 happens. The guy takes. I'm not sure he should take. And then he does this. So he writes on queen g7, I should have tried this instead of queen f3, which is a dead draw. because it keeps more life in the position and invites complications. Okay, I will say that it's not 100% to me that it's a dead draw on queen takes f3. White is definitely got the jump after queen f3. On queen g7, it's a mess. We got ourselves a mess. Let's see your variation. Queen g7. Okay, yeah, it's true. We got that for ourselves. Queen d7 is definitely the right question to ask. And then you're right, bishop g3, bishop d3, as you write, is then a big question. Wow, and you have a great variation, actually. Here. Wow. That's a hell of a drug. And here, I think that felt, by the way, fairly forcing. And so let's just say if we take here, our problem will be check the miserable king, and then check the miserable king, and then we're toast. However, there's questions about queen d5. So the point being on bishop d6, then I can take, and then there's no check on f2. We got ourselves a spicy one here. Now maybe he could survive. Let's just check for a second. King e7, check the miserable king. Like does me winning the that pawn, is it a big deal? Let's try king d8. Oh, this is a hot position, my friends. This is very hot. So maybe, woo, that's spicy. Now, let's just say what we should have said an hour ago, is that the bishops of opposite color create the dynamic where white has got the jump on the light squares, black on the dark squares. So essentially white is up a piece on the light squares, even if I am down a rook. So white at least has a draw in hand with queen d5. But the problem remains the same. If I take on a8, yeah, then there's question marks if I take on a8. It's still even, man, it's hot. Yeah, it doesn't look like I should take on a8. Let's just show the tactic one more time. Ouch. So then if he goes back, maybe this funkadelic move? Man, oh man. But then again, maybe queen e1? All right, I'm a little bit, this would be a great position to analyze a lot. So let's check the assumption that this is a dead draw. I definitely don't think it's a dead draw. So here he goes, king e7. And perhaps because both sides thought it was a dead draw, it became a self-fulfilling prophecy. So it's white's task now to create some drama before the king goes and does all its stuff, right? Let's first look at the game, then we'll come back. So white did nothing with all these temping, right? So imagine it as a situation where white has 1, 2, 3, and 4 tempi because it's his move, right? So he's got 4 tempi to do something with. Now, the first easy question to ask would be definitely, how about e4 bows? Easy question to ask, right? Easy question to ask. Now, let's just say white's got a nice advantage after e4. Do we know exactly what's going on? No. No, Mouse. No, we don't. But white's got the jump. White's got the jump. And this e4 move, I think you could do if you wanted to prepare it with a king f2 or something. You could. And I think it's fair to say that bishop d3 doesn't make any sense, right? It's not clear what it's doing, why it's needed. Whereas if we play e4, one idea for the bishop, well, there's a couple ideas, right? If he lets us play there, we're going to say, oh, maybe it got a little something something with that. And if he takes, then the bishop landing here, excuse me, drunken bishop, could do some damage onto his position if he opens us for that square. Yeah, the self-fulfilling prophecies. Okay. All right, so yeah, draw. Now, by the way, I think it's a very common thing that at the dojo we need to be wary of, especially at this level when people start getting at close to 2,000 or something, is the bishops of opposite color is not a draw. Okay, there is a set of positions where it is a draw or very drawish, where it's just bishops, but positions where there's still other pieces on board, there's a lot of active play. And the reason for that is because you, white, have an extra piece on the light squares. He has an extra piece on the dark squares. So if you can create an initiative on those squares, well, that's a meaningful thing, a very meaningful thing. Okay, let's look at one more game, and that's Thor Biddles. And maybe Checkmate Wii is also in the dojo. But this is Thor Biddles' annotations. Thor Biddles is here! Nice. Here we go. Pop, pop. All right, Anish Giri. Okay. So, yeah, ancient position, and white plays bishop c4. My 2 cents on the position is that castles long is the best move, but that's maybe, chessable courses might say something otherwise. In any case, bishop c4 has been played by a number of great people. The only reason I don't like it is black has a simple plan now to play for the c4 square. And Thor Biddles, interestingly, doesn't go for it, and I think it sounds psychological, right? In that he's worried about white being an aggressive player and being a genius. It might be fine. Knight takes d4. It's unconventional. Let's look. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, interesting position. And I guess if we think about it in terms of if we wanted to rationalize playing against an attacking player, now the trump that white has is at some point he can land the knight on d5 and maybe have a better structural position, a little bit more space. All right. I'm not sure about bishop b3, but let's put it on the board. Pop. Queen a5. Can't be wrong. Pop. b5. Probably okay. Probably. My question would certainly be about knight d5. Is white better after knight d5? We can imagine queen takes, king takes. We just have to, first of all, make sure no weird things happen to us. But yeah, it looks like white is a little bit better in this position. He can say that his king is stronger and his structure a little bit better. He has to make, I am making sure there's no weird tactics, but it seems like knight d5, bishop g7, and yeah, slightly better position for white, especially because maybe his king is going to be stronger. Yeah, and this is a common complaint in dragon positions, is sometimes they can head for these better endgames. Now, Thor Biddles, however, is not playing some chump. He's not playing some chump who's going to go for the endgame. He's not playing some chump. He's playing a guy who wants to kill him. Yeah. Chess Zebra, hello. Here we go. King B1. Pop. So actually, let's frame something here. In this position, very similar positions, b5, b4 is, your path to counterplay. But what's weird about it here is that he kind of wants to play knight d5 anyway, right? It's kind of what goes down here. And apparently, dude has even got this position before. Okay. Yeah. Now, I just say my personal preference, if I was white, if I'm going to go down to this position, I guess I would rather have the queens off the board, but okay. Let's give this a try. It's funny now that, Thor Biddles has basically clued me into this is a theoretical position. He's checked it with the endgame. With the engine, excuse me. My mind kind of switches a little bit, right? It's like, well, Kraai. Well, buddy, maybe you don't know what you're talking about or something. I don't know. I'm just telling you my predilections here. Bishop takes. Okay. Now, bishop takes from him. By the way, he's not getting some attack. So it's true that Thor Biddles chose an opening in which his opponent maybe isn't quite as happy. He also clearly got a position that he has seen before. Yeah, some fancy things are going to go down. So let's look at ED5, which seems more reasonable to me. That's interesting. I would like white a little bit better, but yeah, it's totally playable. Sure. And we can think about some kind of rookie 3 stuff, obviously. And the game goes on. Maybe a sample variation could be, isn't this actually a little unpleasant? The rookie 3. The point being that you don't really want to put the knight on e5 because I can always push it away. And if here, you can't really do that, or at least it'll be difficult to do it because of bishop a4. Now, you don't have to play queen b5, and maybe I'm missing something. That particular sequence seems reasonable. For white, right? Rook e3. But I don't feel, up until this point, I don't feel like you've done anything wrong. Well, Chess Zebra, sometimes you need the wood to get all chopped up. Chopped up. Well, white is also trying not to get mated. That's the other thing white's trying to do when he's playing queen d3. Now, black could think about things like queen b7. But then we will have to worry about bishop a4. Now, yeah, we'd have to worry about bishop a4 at some level. And obviously there's tactics with bishop f6 first or something. But in any case, this would be the kind of endgame that there are a lot of white players that go for this. And I have a feeling Checkmate Wee was not the kind of player who would like this position. But this one looks a little hard. Anyways, let's look at the game. Bishop d5, knight d5, bishop g7, pop. And now knight c3 is definitely a fancy move. Let's look at this position, this evaluation. g4, wow. And he says, a little bit better for white. With my dark square bishop traded off, I feel white's king is safer. I think knight c3 was right as it basically forced a queen trade. Okay. Yeah, and it's kind of following a theoretical line, as is most cases, or a lot of times you follow a line you might not totally remember. So he is correctly double-checking things. Yeah, white's a little bit better. I don't know about g4, by the way. We could do other things, but rook hg1, for example, suggests itself. h4 suggests itself. Yeah, white's a bit better. His king is safer. Okay, so bishop g7, pop. And now we have ourselves an endgame. Okay, now, does white have the right to claim that he is better? The reason I would feel a little scared as black here is not the pawn. The pawn seems fairly meaningless, but can white somehow organize his king to be active in some kind of way? So I think this is a very dynamic endgame. Now, does this move make sense to me? No, this can't be right. So what we're going to see here is, see it all the time, honestly, with this level, people give away time, right? People give away time. So big question here, is there a building move that white can do? Let's just say the obvious. Why is why is this wrong? Because he lost the tempo. Because he lost the tempo, boss. Because he lost the tempo. Yeah, and now black might be able to claim that he can play for the advantage now. We're gonna check that in a second. But first we're just gonna ask, is there anything clever that we could do? For example, maybe like this. King a1, rook over, rook over, rook c3. It's going to get hot, by the way. Rook c3, rook c3, check to the miserable king, king b2. Then black will have a choice between rook e3 or rook c7. And he should be okay. He should be okay. He should be okay. In any case, this would be white's moment. And I want to stress this all. Clear loss of time. Now, he might say to himself, well, I'm going rook c8 anyway. Let's read some of the stuff that he wrote. Actually, because it's good. He considered rook cb5. I think that's the big question. Let's read. I'm going to read what he says at the end of the line first. I wanted to double my rooks on the open b file and exert pressure, but it looked like white would have everything defended, and then possibly advance their c pawn to trade off the weak double pawn. Now, I don't know about rook d5. Well, that's not easy for the guy. For example, here, 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 here. And then actually you could transpose hilariously to the variation I just gave. So rook b1 would transpose to the thing we just had. And white, I guess, is the one who should go for it. It's fundamentally equal, I guess, but, you know. White is the one who can dream, because his king maybe can get active. Oh, it's really close. Let me go back just this half a second. A very correct game, dude. Very correct game. Yeah. So it's like this, you know, I talk a lot of smack about openings, but here's a funny thing where his his openings were so amazing, he ends up getting like forced draw, dude. Forced draw coming out of all this. Yeah, if I was white, I would want knight d5. And then e d5, I'm just going to say I'm sure there's some way besides that ending that we looked at. I got a really dumb question, though. What is actually happening on snip? Like here? Here? What's happening, you guys? I mean, maybe, but this is kind of complicated. I don't know. Yo no comprendo. It looks like Pieszki's over here. Yeah, it looks like Pieszki's. Hi, Chess Latte. Oh, nice. 27 months, man. Chess Latte's been here a while. Nice. It's funny, you know, we talk about theory and stuff, and everything. I guess he's following a Geary course or something. Now, maybe this is in the course, but like it's a lot of courses nowadays, they're computer driven. So like, both white didn't even check this. Neither player thought this was possible. You can't take on c3, right? I'm coming back. Maybe the hilarious thing you do here is you play here. Maybe that's what you do. I don't know. Maybe that's the kind of thing they do these days. But white's not toast. At the bare minimum, he can give the bishop back and just let him take here. And then what's happening? I don't know. The answer is, I don't know. That's the answer. Probably black's okay if that goes down. But this is a hardcore move to find rook FB8. I think king G7 CB definitely looks like an advantage to white. Rook FB8 is a hell of a move, dude. That's the kind of thing, like, I mean, maybe that's what you had to see with knight c3. By the way, it'd be good, like, when you do the notes, like, it's good to not look at the course information yet if you're following along, because you want to see if you could actually understand it. Interestingly, both players, I think, you know, both players kind of trusted that this wouldn't work out. I actually, well, yeah, I guess. I mean, what a mess. What a mess. Looks forcing. It goes like this. Pop. Pop. So bishop b2, I come here, and it looks like a... Even that's complicated, man. Like, for example, bishop b2, rook b8, and then I think that's an exclam right there. Ha ha ha, whoa la 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 la. All right, my friends, so there it is. One of the most crazy positions. It looked like such a dumb endgame. Oh, don't call it dumb, Kraai, huh? You don't have to say that, buddy. So I'm not sure about this. Rook FB8. Now, you could play rook AB. I just don't know what the difference is, honestly. CB. Wait, well, and so now if you play king G7, then we're going to say C3 is an advantage to Mr. White. So rook B2, bishop B2. If queen B6, we're saying C3 is winning the piece. And I'm not seeing it, yeah. So H.R. Idic is saying it is still in Gary's course. Well, what is still in Gary's course? What? Yeah, well, I think knight c3, I guess, I've been told, is in Gary's course. How do you play against people who exchange all the pieces? Well, I'll tell you what, buddy. Play like this. Play like this. I think this, at the bare minimum, both players need to consider WTF is happening here. And what's interesting, of course, if we go back, I think it is fair to say that I don't know what either side does exactly here, but white's a little bit better in this position because black's king is more exposed. So knight c3, and I know people want me to turn on the computer, but I'm not going to do it, boss. I'm not going to do it. Especially because just for the sake of the annotations, too. Yeah, we want to figure it out ourselves here. Oh, and then I understand what Latte is saying. On c4, though, Latte, then king g7, and black is fully in the game, right? Because the c4 pawn is nobody's hero and will probably fall later. Plus, you got to worry about rook b6, rook a6 stuff, right? Okay. Thor Biddles is thinking hard. He's thinking hard on what's going on in this position. Huh. Okay, wait, maybe you can go like this. Here, 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 here. Bear with me a second. Here. So now, I'm threatening Mr. Bishop, right? If bishop c3, rook a4 is a pain. So let's consider rook b1 for a second, and then rook a4. Game's still not over. Queen d5. Game's still not over. e6. Game's still not over. Bishop f6. Holy moly. Hello. Hello. Dang. This one's rich. This one's rich, my friends. Now, a lot of times, even if you're a GM and the computer flashes like equal or something, you won't look at this line, right? Because for the computer might see something that will seem obvious once we see it. Once we see it, it'll seem obvious. But I think rook b1, let's look again. Rook b1. I don't know what else to do besides rook a4. Queen d5 is a must. And then it looks like we're knocking him off, but then bam, bishop f6. That's game, right? That's game. Beautiful. All right, Bed Rush is saying black could go for a draw if queen b4 instead of rook b4. Let's go back and see what we're talking about. No. Oh, okay. Okay, maybe actually Bed Rush, maybe you're onto something. Let's check. Very good. Very good. Yeah, you're the one who found it. Very good. You're right. Yeah. Someone found it. Bedrush found it. Of course, my mind must have told me something like bishop b2 is winning the piece, but of course rook a b8 picks it back up. Yeah, and then he's fine. Then he's fine. Good, well seen. Okay, so that's the answer, my friends. So, black must find this amazing move, and then he's got to see that queen b4 is his exclam. Dang. Dang. Yeah. Bedrush found that action, Jackson. Yep. All right, my friends, that was great. Let me just give some dojo updates here. Keddy's going to be doing some streaming for us while Pruess is on sick leave. I am kind of waiting for Chessdojo Chessable to figure its life out, because I got to do this course that's been taking forever. They're not writing me back. I don't know what's going on. If you know someone at Chessable, tell them, boss. Tell them. Anyways, I'm enjoying this thing, going over people's games. It's something I've been meaning to do from the beginning. Should have done more of it earlier on. And I'll continue to do it in spurts like I'm doing now. But basically, right, if you're in the training program and you submit your games, again, that's the heart of the dojo training program, that you're providing analysis like this. It will improve your game. Going through tactics, like we just did, is the heart of tactical prowess. I'm actually reading, I'll tell you a funny story. I'm reading Road to Chess Improvement, over here, Road to Chess Improvement, by Yermolinsky. And that guy's never done no puzzle rush. He's never done no puzzles. Forget about it, boss. That guy's not going to do it. How did he learn tactics? Going over his games like this. And he definitely has some crazy Sicilian games.